I it's picking me under.
Please find a seat. Please find a chair. Please find a chair.
I'll be in the back for the dumpster.
I won't be looking at you. Don't you worry.
Thank you. And please find a chair. Mike, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mike? Okay, great. Yeah. We'll just wait for a few more people to get seated. We're just going to wait for a couple more people and then we'll get started. And we have Brandy here today, and she is doing sign language for anyone who is hearing impaired or deaf. Thank you, Brandy, for being here. Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I am thrilled to see and greet each one of you to the celebration of life for Joyanna. My name is Susie Amundsen. Joyanna, or who I affectionately call JoJo, and I have been close friends for 40 years. That's 4 decades. We've been on innumerable adventures together, from mountain biking in Moab to berry picking and camping across the bay to snorkeling in Roatan. She is a part of our beloved Alaskan family. If you're so fortunate, you know what it means to have a long term spirited friendship. JoJo and I know each other's shared beliefs and values, annoying quirks, charming and endearing characteristics, and everything else in between. So I took a few minutes of reflection about how Joyanna would appraise of what we are doing today, her celebration of life. And she would be quite discerning. I thought of four things. One, she wouldn't want a lot of fanfare, recognition, or hoopla on her behalf. Joyanna was humble and modest. Whether she likes it or not, we're just going to blow that right off the table. She's still going to get the acknowledgement and fanfare she richly deserves. Maybe she's saying something to us. As Joyanna had a relentless work ethic, which we all know about, today she might be wondering why the Independent Living Center office is closed, the ILC, and what all the staff were doing not meeting with consumers. However, Joyanna embodied a life of service and made a meaningful impact, and we're happy the ILC is closed today to honor her. And all the staff and board from Kodiak, Central Peninsula, Seward, and Homer are here. Another thing, she wouldn't want any sniveling about her crossing the threshold before before us. Her dear friend Sandy Cronlin and I, that's Sandy over there, were with Joyanna during her last days and breaths. And Joyanna wanted us to talk and tell stories of the past and laugh to liven up her hospital room. However, I brought Kleenexes. So don't worry. Well, there's going to be some tears, and maybe they'll come from me. Number 4, we do know Joyanna wouldn't want to miss this celebration with all of you, her friends and colleagues, and yet would require some requirements which her staff knew really well. 1, it needed to be outdoors. 2, there needed to be good food. And 4, there needed to be some outdoor fun. When Marty and I hosted summer potlucks, JoJo was always the first one to jump into an outdoor game, whether it's badminton or bocce or cornhole. I treasure her playfulness to this day. I actually think Joyanna would love this party and wholeheartedly approve. Sandy and I greatly appreciate the efforts of the ILC staff and board to co-create this event. Thank you for your attunement and love of Joyanna. Special kudos to the ILC committee, you know who you are, and to Michael, who wrangled us together and spearheaded this celebration. And also, I want to give big thanks to the hospice, who is on the ground floor of this building, for being so gracious and generous with shared space and help. It's very moving to see how many friends and colleagues have gathered here to honor Joyanna's legacy and life. I know many of you have traveled far distances to recognize her accomplishments in the world of disability, with elders, with veterans, and others, and to show up here to honor her as a friend, a neighbor, family, mentor, colleague, and community member. This afternoon, I want to make a special welcome to Joyanna's father, Jack, and Joyanna's brother, Jim, and his wife, Carol, in Wyoming right now, who are joining us via a live stream. We're so excited they can be here too. And I'd like you to greet them. So, on a count of 3, 1, 2, 3, I would like you to say hello, Joyanna's family. But since the camera is right back there with Silas. I want you all to turn and wave and greet them. 1, 2, 3. Wonderful. Thanks so much. We are pleased that they and other family members and friends can join us virtually. And now for the landscape of this afternoon. The restrooms. The ADA restroom is in the back corner of the parking lot. There's another restroom walking up the walkway into the hospice building on the lower level. There's going to be a program of speakers from various corners of Joyanna's life. And then following the program, there'll be refreshments and food, photos throughout Joyanna's lifespan. Be sure to pick up a bookmark. Check out her legislative citation, which was initiated by Senator Gary Stevens' office because of all the work. Joyanna would come to Juneau every year and advocate for people with disabilities. Enjoy the music. And if you want to share a story or sentiment about Joyanna, flag down Silas. He'll be the guy with the camera, and we think he's going to be somewhere up there. Is that right, Silas? And share your story. We'd love to capture it. And of course, visit and make connections. And now I will read Joyanna's obituary. Joyanna Geisler. Born to Jack and Joyce Geisler in Powell, Wyoming on May 15, 1953, Joyanna grew up with a vicious spirit, delighting in the outdoors, reading and learning, and actively engaging in the world around her. Her father's endearing stories of Joyanna reveal how her early childhood traits braided into her adulthood. Wearing a nail apron at 4 years of age, Joyanna insisted helping her family build a new house, sitting on the subfloor, hammering nails. She was so self-sufficient with her task and her desire to contribute to the family's efforts, Jack laughingly noticed later her subfloor spot was ratted with nails. As she grew older, Joyanna loved animals and with her savings purchased a mare, only to be gleefully surprised in the spring when a colt was born who she affectionately cared for and named Bucky. If you know Joyanna, you realize a 2-for-1 deal was always a win. In high school, Joyanna devoured books, engaged with friends, and hung out with the teenage girls at the Wyoming Girls' School where her father was the superintendent. She witnessed some mischief there, but Jack always felt relief coming home to his teenage daughter who excelled at school and didn't give her parents worry. Even as a teen, Joyanna was highly aware of how people in the world were treated. The servants of her exchange family in Mexico, the residents with profound disabilities in the Wyoming training school, and the have-nots, voicing her upset when others were not regarded with respect and dignity. Joyanna went on to earn an undergraduate degree in psychology at the University of Utah and a master's degree in special ed from the University of Montana, later teaching in Hardin, bordering the Crow Nation for 2 years in Montana. After living in several towns in the Pacific Northwest in 1983, she hopped the ferry to Alaska and on board reconnected with her former co-worker, Sandy Cronland, launching a long enduring friendship. 2 years teaching special education in Anchorage motivated Joyanna to move to Homer, a community and landscape she loved until her last breath. Little did she realize when she founded the independent living program at Homer's Mental Health Center in 1986, she was crafting a lasting legacy and impact. In 1991, the program became the Independent Living Center, a 501c3 nonprofit serving people experiencing disabilities on the Southern Kenai Peninsula. The consummate advocate, Joyanna added offices in the Central Peninsula in 1995, Seward in 1997, and Kodiak in 2017, ensuring people with disabilities realize self-determination and equal opportunities. Her proactive reach went way beyond the Gulf Coast, though, as Joyanna is credited with bringing home and community-based care services for veterans to Alaska, as well as consumer-directed personal care services, empowering people to manage their own in-home care. In addition, the ILC was one of the demonstration sites for the transportation voucher program, securing accessible and available transportation services for rural residents. Joyanna's steadfast commitment and unflagging leadership in the disability community won her several awards, but her genuine motivation was to help people make better lives for themselves. In 1995 and 2018, she was awarded the National Council on Independent Regional Advocacy Award, Region 10, and the Governor's Award to Independent Living Center, Homer, in 1995. Recognition came again in 2006 as an award by the Association of Programs for Rural Independent Living Transportation Project, and in 2007 nationally with the Earl Walden Award for Outstanding Achievement in Rural Advocacy. Although Joyanna stuffed her weeks with long work hours, she liked to read, garden, kayak, backpack, pick berries, mountain bike, camp, play games, and connect with friends. Some of her most relaxing times were traveling in Peru, Rarotonga, Mexico, China, Roatan, and Costa Rica. On February 15th, 2025, Joyanna crossed the threshold with her best friends at her side. I'll be the first one to use the tissue box, okay? Her mother passed 2 years ago. Living are her father, Jack of Powell, Wyoming, her brother, Jim, and Carol Geisler of Illfeld, New Mexico, numerous relatives, her dear canine Maya, and her Alaska family of beloved friends. As one independent living consumer shared, the world is less for her leaving. And now I will ask Joan O'Keefe to come and speak. I'll just move this mess. Thank you.
It's been my honor to have had Joyanna Geisler in my life for more than 25 years. Back then, my agency was a total mess, and she encouraged me to apply for the executive director job. And then she took me under her wing. She was my mentor, my colleague, and we affectionately called each other pal. Independent living, or IL, as those of us in the business call it, was born out of the civil rights movement. IL is a philosophy and a movement of people with disabilities who work for self-determination, equal opportunities, and self-respect. Joyanna embraced IL. She was passionate about IL. She breathed IL. She rolled up her sleeves and worked utterly, ridiculously long hours to accomplish big things, like bringing the veterans home and community-based services and consumer-directed personal care services to Alaska. As a result, hundreds and hundreds of people experiencing disabilities are living in their own homes, in their home communities, with their loved ones, instead of in a nursing home. For many years, Joyanna, Jim Beck, and I would gather in Juneau to meet with legislators and other state officials to advocate for people with disabilities. One day, while walking the halls of the state capitol, an acquaintance took a good look at us and said, "Look, it's two hippie chicks and a gimp." The three of us never stopped laughing about that. Joanna's latest giant advocacy project had the Independent Living Center, or ILC, leading the charge to bring participant-directed waiver services to Alaska. We are the only state without it. And because of her leadership, we are so much closer to realizing that dream. And we will continue that fight in her honor until we cross the finish line. And of course, she was the founder and executive director of ILC. Over the past 25 years, our two agencies have become sister cells, Centers for Independent Living, working closely and partnering on countless projects, staff training, and advocacy efforts. When we traveled for work, be it Fairbanks, Anchorage, DC, Savannah, Boise, Puerto Rico, I can't remember where all, we'd share a room to save money for ourselves. And she was my mentor, so we would do that. Joyanna was always looking out for ILC, committed to its success and long-term sustainability. One time when we were sharing a room at an IL conference in Anchorage, the next morning, one of my staff members reported that he didn't sleep very well because the people in the next room were laughing so hard until the wee hours, only to figure out that he was talking about Joyanna and I. Whoops. Anyway, Joyanna loved to laugh, and that's for sure. Most Sundays, Joyanna and I would be working in our respective offices, and we'd use Google Chat to talk shop and connect. I miss that. Following her passing, it's been my honor to work with her amazing team at ILC as they grapple with the loss of their founder and their leader and carry on her important work and legacy, empowering people experiencing disabilities to live full, independent lives. Yes, Joyanna Geisler was an independent living goddess. This world is This world is so much greater because of her, and I am forever grateful to have had her in my life.
Okay, where is it?
Right here. This way.
Okay. In case you're wondering, I'm 90% blind. Yeah, I got it. I know how to use these things. My name is Pat Case, and I'm the Vice President of the Board of Directors at the Independent Living Center. Quite an honor to have that I had not planned on. Joyanna asked me many, many times to join her board. And I kept saying, well, I work better independently, because you've shown me how to do that. You've mentored me and all that. So I went off on my own advocacy campaign to make Homer a more walkable community. And she was 100% on board mentoring me all the way. Well, things kind of happened. So it came to a point where the ADA board kept asking me to join their board too. And it's like I had to make a choice. So one day I decided, you know what? I can do more good with the ILC. And boy, did I make the right choice. So I joined her board a couple of years ago, not to know that she would be passing. Okay, I got it. Okay, how's that? Okay, well, little did I know, joining the board, just to lend a helping hand and giving Joyanna an opportunity to interact with more people. I would come and sit with her in her office at every board meeting. I never missed a board meeting. I think I missed one. But it was a joy. And we would sit for probably half an hour afterwards and chat about what we just talked about. And it was just really, I really got to know her well at that point. But the weight, when she passed, came down upon us all. And there we were. And I just couldn't, I had such a feeling that I'd never experienced before. And I just couldn't figure out, how do I name this? What is it? And it's like the only thing that I could think of, and forgive me, this is not irreverent, but I will say it. The only example I could think of is in Star Wars. When the Death Star blew up the home planet And Obi-Wan Kenobi says, I felt a weakening in the Force. Joanne's passing was a weakening in the Force of all of our lives. But the cool thing is that she was such a visionary that she amassed this amazing, amazing staff to do all of the tasks that she couldn't do herself, or well, she would do it herself. But the more she involved, she knew that the more she would touch. And this incredible staff is so amazing to do the tasks that she put out, but it's all about independence. It's not about lending just a helping hand. It's about teaching people how to do it themselves. That's what the independent movement is about. And Joyanna was very, very adamant that we don't just do stuff for people, but we show them how to do it themselves. And that is an amazing, amazing concept. Successfully. She's meant a lot. And it's amazing to think that from the humble beginnings right here in Homer, that she expanded from Homer into the Central Peninsula, Seward, Kodiak just a couple years ago, and we're even expanding into the Copper Center now, and Glen Allen and Valdez. I mean, Joanna's work will go on because of the incredible staff that she has amassed. The ILC is not only staffed with incredible people because of Joyanna, but we are financially secure because of Joyanna. And it's just an honor to be on her board. And I can commit that I will continue to work very hard to meet the goals that she sets out for us. Now, in the book of Proverbs, it says, the pathway of the righteous is like the light of the dawn. It grows brighter and brighter until the fullness of day. Joanna's light was a spotlight in the sky. It was so bright when she left this planet in body. Her spirit still is here. We feel it. We know it. But it was so bright. And now, with that being said, I want to speak directly to the incredible staff that is massed here of the ILC. Her pathway was so bright because she walked it without wavering, righteously. You now pick up her mantle. It lays before you, ILC staff. It lays before you to pick it up and to walk that path and make it even brighter. She would expect this of you. You expect it of yourself. That's why you're here. And I know that you can do it because you are amazing. And whatever form we take in the future, it will always reflect what Joyanna put out for us to do. We will always honor her and her perspective on things because she's instilled that in us. And I will miss her tremendously. I've stepped into her place on the ADA advisory board just to honor her. So now here I am, I'm on both boards. Thanks, Joyanna. You know, but it's an honor. And I do it because it's the right thing to do. And she's given me some really great purpose to my life. And she is so in tune to her people. She set me up. She knew I was working on walkability. She says, hey, can I put your name in for this little fellowship that's going on? Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I got chosen. And then I find out, well, it's a 6-month Google Classroom exercise to write a walking action plan. It's like, you. And so I had to inform her at that time, I said, well, Joyanna, I have never done Zoom in my life except sitting next to your shoulder here in the office. And Joyanna's way, I'm going to leave you with this because Joyanna, she had a way she didn't even have to say a word. Brad was standing in the doorway. As I said, I don't even have a camera. She looked up over my shoulder with just a little nod, and 2 minutes later, Brad walks into the office with a brand new Zoom camera for me. So she's always prepared. And I just say, let us feel the joy in our heart that was Joyanna Geisler. And that's the best way we can honor her. I think I can get it. Yeah, I can. There it is.
It wasn't long after I met Sandy that I met Joyanna. The two had traveled to Alaska together on the ferry just a couple of years prior, and as best friends, they were pretty much inseparable. Sandy lived in a big house on the ridge at the time. It was the holiday season, and the place was full of music and dance, laughter. Ed Carley, a short, bald Italian with a big bushy mustache, was her roommate. And Ed was an excellent chef. He loved to cook, so there was always fabulous food and fine wine being uncorked, and consequently a big pile of dishes in the kitchen sink. So one evening during the fray, Joyanna and I look at each other and we look at that pile of dishes and we decide we're going to tackle that pile. We're going to get after it and get to know each other a little better. I was washing. She was rinsing, stacking, inspecting. Inspecting as though my dishwashing skills might have some insight and deeper into my character, into my sense of integrity. I was scrubbing those dishes. I was channeling my best dishwashing self. Really wanted to leave a good impression. Well, I thought the conversation had gone pretty well and we were approaching the bottom of the pile when Joyanna stepped back from the kitchen sink. She looked up at me and looked me right in the eyes. And she made it very clear that if I were ever to cross Sandy, I'd have her to answer to. Well, obviously, those words left some impression because here we are 40 years later and still going strong. Now, I tell this story because I think it speaks to Joyanna's character, to her sense of loyalty to those she cared about, her friends. There was a whole lot of spunk built into that little package. As you all here at ILC well know, she was the big chief. And she was not at all afraid to stand up for her people and the causes that she believed in. And those are the tracks that Joyanna left behind, for which I'll remember her best.
Would you do me a favor? Would you scroll down? I think so. Let me just get to my. That's okay. Maybe a little closer. Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Maggie Winston, and Joyanna was my boss and my good friend. Joyanna would always accuse me of making things about me. So for the first part, I am going to make this about me and read you an excerpt from my journal from the day that Joyanna passed. Joyanna and I met in 2012 when I became a board member for ILC. She was my first professional mentor. She was my first boss in the beginning of my professional career. She made me feel believed in for the first time ever. It was like she saw potential in me that I couldn't see at the time. And now Siri is going to read to me. Just tap. Yeah, there we go. Right there. Thanks. She saw the potential in me that I didn't see at the time until she made me believe it. She gave me a chance and an opportunity, and I am today the professional person because of Joyanna Geisler. She's amazing. And now I'll make it about her. She had absolutely no reason to be, but goddamn, she was so humble. She was an advocate through and through. She had 2 degrees, one in psychology and one in special education. Magna cum laude, by the way. Her resume from 1974 until now was like 99% advocacy, except for 3 years in construction, right? Except for what Jack said makes sense, right? With her hammering nails. Just thought that was very funny given what we all know of her career now. She also worked in a group home as a live-in DSP for a year for 30 to 40 people with developmental disabilities. So I would love to see like 3 seasons of that, right? Joyanna doing that. Would you scroll down for me, please? Oh goodness, it went away again. And scroll down some more. Yeah. So Joyanna would say things like, I work at the Independent Living Center, giving the connotation of humble servant rather than founder, director, and bad bitch. She wasn't prone to openly trash talk, but would comment on the ego of other leaders. One of the last documents she sent to me was reiterating instructions for taking the I and we out of our narratives because it wasn't about us. It was about our programs and what we do for others. She was so humble, but she would boast and brag about ILC. Thank you all so much for being here.
Yep, I can make that work. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Donna Adderhold, and I met Joyanna when she joined the City of Homer's Americans with. Oh, okay. All right. She she joined the City of Homer's Americans with Disabilities Act Compliance Committee in about 2016 or 2017, while I was the City Council representative on the committee. We later served together on the Kenai Peninsula Borough's Election Stakeholder Working Group, which had a focus of ensuring accessibility of elections to all eligible voters in the borough. On the ADA committee, we and other members worked together with city staff on a transition plan, running from city building to city building, including all the bathrooms, with then city clerk and ADA coordinator Melissa Jacobson to measure parking lots, ramps, doors, turning radii, grab bars, our one elevator in the city hall, and countless other items. We made a list of what complied with ADA and what needed changing. Did I mention the bathrooms? Do you have any idea how many bathrooms there are in this city? This team visited them all. After the transition plan was complete, we realized there were so many more city assets that needed ADA evaluation, namely the playgrounds, the campgrounds, and the trails. So we measured those too and added them to the transition plan. Joyanna was instrumental in all of these site visits and in editing the plan. I think she might be the one person on the committee who went to every single site visit. I don't think she missed a single one. And this was over a couple of years. Through it all, Joyanna was a quiet leader. I remember her as kind, funny, quick-witted, defiant in the need for accessibility, and incredibly knowledgeable. I learned so much from her. In the early days of the ADA committee, we met in a conference room in City Hall that holds some of the many beautiful cultural items our sister city, Teshio, Japan, has shared with Homer. I was not able to attend one meeting. I have no recollection why. But shortly before meeting time, I received a text message with several photos of Joyanna and Tess Daly, who was then also a member of the committee, trying on a Japanese battle helmet. My gosh, I laughed so hard, and I wished I was in the room with them laughing even harder. On the election stakeholder working group, there were several members from the Central Peninsula who didn't understand the need for accessible election equipment and questioned the value of the expense. I watched Joyanna's face change from passive to fierce as the mama bear in her came out. She adamantly and respectfully defended the need for voting accessibility in clear, concise, and fact-based language. I'm proud to say that what started as a time-limited committee is now a regularly meeting ADA board that guides the city in working through the transition plan to make the city more accessible to all. Joyanna was key in helping us see the need for a permanent board, and she remained an active member until her death. So the next time you visit or drive by Bayview Park, thank Joyanna for the new ADA compliant parking pad, path, and playground equipment. As a member of the ADA board, she was influential in helping the city understand the need for accessibility throughout that park. The library parking lot that tends to flood in the spring right at the accessible parking spaces has been modified by Public Works to improve drainage thanks to the work of the ADA board with Joyanna in the lead. The ramp right here across the parking lot that leads down to the trail through city and Ketchmack Heritage Land Trust property is there because of Joyanna's connections. It was locally built in Kasilof. The fact that the Land Trust developed the concept for an accessible trail through their property is because of Joyanna and the Independent Living Center. The culture at the city has changed because of Joyanna and the ADA board. ADA compliance is now top of mind for city staff and the city council as new projects are evaluated. We all still have a lot to learn, and the ADA board carries on with its important mission. And thanks to Joyanna, we are now on step to continue checking off the many items still listed on the transition plan. Thank you, Joyanna. You've set us up for success.
Perfect.
Probably, maybe. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Beck. Hello, Geislers out there in TV land. Glad you're here. I'm praying for just a fraction of the composure of the speakers previous to me. I've been turning on the grief valve just boop since February, just a little nip at a time. But here it's wide open, and that's why we're here. And I'm really happy to be here with all of you for that. I was using the bathroom in the office upstairs, and I was wishing, for many reasons, Joyanna was here, but one reason so I could give her a hard time about the platform lift in the office. Though you would think I would have learned my lesson over knowing her all these years, because if I had said something about that, she would have figuratively pulled her sword out and sliced me up into little pieces, because she was fantastically skilled at that, as Maggie and others have mentioned. And I was always a fool to step into her circle like that. I had this super duper fortune of meeting Joyanna, I think in 1986. Could have been 87. It could have even been 88, maybe, but I don't think it was after that. She came to Access Alaska, which is another center for independent living. I'm assuming to meet with my boss. I wasn't invited to the meeting because I was just a young punk independent living specialist. I didn't get to go to the big people meetings. But she was there, I'm assuming, to talk about her new project that she kicked off in 86 and then became a center, as mentioned earlier, in the early 90s. So they were probably planning her new adventure. And little did I know, I did meet her, that they would both become such hugely important people in my life. And one might worry that the person who becomes a hugely important person in your life maybe doesn't know that they were that hugely important person. And with Joyanna, I had the distinct pleasure of getting to have that conversation with her. And I have to fast forward about 15, 16, 17 years for that story. I was then, it was probably 2003, a brand new executive director at Access Alaska. And I knew Joyanna quite well by then from other projects. And I don't remember why, but we were meeting in my office in Anchorage. And I was talking about my new job. I was super excited. And we had a Medicaid billing program for personal care. And this was always a friction point between Joyanna and I forever and ever. But I was talking about this program in terms that she did not resonate with. I was probably talking about profit and loss and numbers and blah, blah, blah. And that's not what she was about. I mean, she was secretly, because the ILC is in good financial shape. But overtly, no, it was about advocacy. And so I'm talking blah, blah, new guy. And my grizzled veteran friend, she literally silenced the room. She leaned in and she said in this low, super scary voice, "You should be ashamed." And I quote, it killed me, I'll be honest. I was crushed. I mean, we walked away strangers, honestly. My wife got so sick of hearing me cry about it. Like literally for 8 months. I couldn't call her. I didn't know what to do. I'm going to cry about it now. It impacted me that much. And I finally called her and I said, "You killed me, man. What happened?" She didn't know that she meant that much to me. Because like Joan and probably Maggie, I was under her wing, but she didn't know what that meant to me. But also hearing her say that was really important, because while I couldn't always focus on the right things, she was always on my shoulder saying, "Don't make me ashamed again." So we reconciled, which thankful for that. It took a long time. But what was cool about after we reconciled is she still, all these years, never hesitated to tell me what was on her mind and what I was doing wrong. And the thing is, she was pretty much always right. I hate to admit that. But we knew what we meant to each other. And I think it made it so that she could say things and I could say things. And I think seeing her use her voice that way helped me to learn how to use my voice that way. It was really an important marker in my life. I was never right as often as she was when I used my voice, which sucks, but it's kind of how it goes. When you're right, you're right. And when you're me, you're not. So I'm sort of dancing around and trying to sugarcoat and dodge the fact that this really sucks. I'm sorry, Geislers, for losing your daughter, your sister, and so many of you, your soul sister, friend, colleague, advocate. But I'm trying to tell myself, as I think Pat expressed so eloquently, how fortunate we all have been to get to share some of our life with such a fine human and just have her company in that way. And how fortunate the world has been to benefit from Joyanna's values and her passion, her ideals, her endless hard work. Sundays, John, really? Sundays? But yeah, I know she did that all the time. And her advocacy. And so I guess I like to think that the souls of all the people whose lives she helped to make better, and I'm certainly counting myself among them, are hopefully gently steering her along through this next part of her journey. And likewise, Billy noted, she's once again blazing the trail to ease ours. And I miss her, and I know you guys do too. Thanks.
Okay, people. Was definitely okay. I'm still processing. I know a lot of us are. And so I think that as I do that, I'm sure you guys will give me grace. Joyanna gave us grace. She also she was pretty hard on us too sometimes, right? High expectations. So if you guys can see through this, I'll continue. Okay. So I came back to Homer as a single mom. I had some skill sets from my name's Taylor O'Donnell Walker. I grew up here. I came back here as a single mom. And I had some skill sets for life, but honestly, as an athlete, you don't actually build a lot of like real life situations. You build a lot of like, I'm gonna pinnacle at this for this thing right here. And so I came back to Homer, as a mom trying to start my career. And I wrote a letter with my cover letter for my application, and I got an interview, which was exciting. And I interviewed, and then I was offered the job for the trail specialist at the Independent Living Center when we were up on Bartlett. And I was kind of a baby, right? A baby of life, trying to figure out what working meant. Joanna let me bring Raiden to work. He would like crawl all around. I'd be like breastfeeding and like trying to learn stuff and type stuff and learn about the independent living movement and the philosophy and just trying to be a person that was successful in the work that I was doing in my life. And she made a lot of space for that. And also, as I tried to really understand what independent living philosophy was, I would spend a lot of time being like, well, why isn't it this? And how can it be that? And like, why consumer, not client? Why, supporting, not helping? And she gave me the time to really understand the deep meaning of the work that many of us have been a part of. And that was such a gift, because although sometimes it wasn't easy to understand and to learn and to step up into the professionalism that we all, she expected from every single one of us, she gave space for us to learn and to move forward, whatever that looked like. And for me, a lot of times it looked like just kind of like flailing on the ground, being like, I don't even understand. And then she would send me on my way to get my work done, and then eventually help me get there, which I really appreciate. Joyanna was definitely a mentor for me, for many of us. She kind of felt like my work mom, who just helped me develop into the person that I was able to be. I took advocacy from my work at Independent Living Center and applied at other places in life. And a lot of the skill set that I brought there was learned here at the Independent Living Center with all of you guys and with Joyanna, making sure we got it right. And really got it right. A lot of times, there's easier ways to get things done, but that wasn't necessarily the option. And I think why she decided to hire me all that long time ago is because she saw the potential that she could train me to really understand the heart of whatever we were moving forward in. And she had a lot of patience for the learning process when you got the meat of the movement and the philosophy, right? And so really miss her. I think we all do. And that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks to each of the speakers for your wonderful, captivating stories. I really like the dishwashing story. I can see Joyanna there. You really shared tender, touching, and tough times with Joyanna and her influence on your life and others. All the stories contain themes about JoJo, her life of service, her spark, her integrity and values, her championing of others, and her playfulness. To carry her spirit forward, I'd like to read a poem. The title of it is Immortality by Claire Harner. Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the thousand winds that blow. I am the diamond glints in snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. As you awake with morning's hush, I am the swift, upwinging rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the day transcending night. Do not stand by my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Joanna's spirit for life and her tenacious steadfastness to help others make better lives for themselves is an inspiring torch for us all. May you carry her sparky spirit and her sturdiness forward to do good in the world. Our warm-hearted thanks for being here today. And may the rest of the party begin. Goodbye, Jack, Jim, and Carol, and everyone joining us online. And Mike, the music.
I haven't slept a wink.
It's her all the time. Yes. I won't ever forget. I might quote that. Exactly what you needed to say.
Yep.
I didn't know you were doing this. No,